Alright. Whew. I am wrecked. Let's have a nice easy morning relax. I mean, it's not even morning anymore. 1:40, so a little bit late for morning, but let's go have a shower, make some brekkie and some coffee, and then let's debrief over the past few weeks that we've had at our new job, how we've been adjusting, and let's just reflect. Let's talk some feelings and how we've actually gone this year so far. Whoa, I think that was the second workout I've done probably since I started this new job. Feels good, but boy, am I unfit. It really sucks it out of you, all this like work stuff, especially in the adjustment phase. Anyways, I'm gonna wash this gross sweat off me because I'm disgusting. And you'll see me after a shower. Now, do I feel a whole lot better? It's amazing. It's so weird. Like, you always feel like, you can't fit in like a workout because you're so like tired and like, worn out, and you couldn't possibly exert more energy exercising. But then you do it and it's like you feel more energized after, and you're like, how do I even feel like this? So that's pretty crazy. Let's get some soda water in here. I don't know, ever since, this may be controversial, but I am not a normal water drinker. Like, if I had to have this is flat. Do we have any more soda water is the question. That's what I want to know. The only other place is in here. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Locked and loaded. Yeah, but like, you always feel like you can't like fit in like exercise or whatever because you're like so tired and like worn out. And then, I don't know, you like do it and you actually feel like so more energized after. And you're like, why did I even stop doing this in the first place? I think it's tricky, like especially when you're first starting out a new role, all the things that you used to be able to do, you don't feel like you can do that just because your mind is so focused on like just surviving the new role. All right, that's it. Yeah, your mind is like so focused on like the new role that you're like, oh, I can't like worry about just like doing my normal routine again. And it's kind of frustrating because you realize how good like your usual routine is. Waking up early, exercising, doing study, all that stuff just goes out the window when you're just like trying to figure out, how do I get to work on time without being late, and where do I actually park the car, It's been 3 weeks since we started the role. We've just finished the 3rd week now. I feel like we have a little bit to reflect on because it's been a big adjustment, no doubt about it. New people, new hospital, new area, new role, like much more senior than I was last year and the year before. And I guess it's like just taking time to realize that like I'm in a more senior position. I have to coordinate other people and make sure that other people are doing their job right, not just me doing my job right. So you're like this like middleman in between like the senior doctors who are like the consultants and the junior doctors like the residents and the interns. And yeah, a registrar sort of coordinates that and makes sure that things get followed up on, things get chased, things get prepared. I'm not, like, there's another registrar on my team who's like really good, really amazing, and is actually on the training program. I'm not. And they actually help do a whole lot more organizing and actually have been really good to like bounce my ideas off, because I am just starting out and they have actually already been doing this level of work for quite a while now. So yeah, it's good to have that sort of person there so you don't feel too alone. There's another team at the hospital where the registrar is actually in my position but by themselves, and I feel like that would be a lot more scary because everything rests on your shoulders, and this is like the first time that you're doing that sort of role, so you have way more responsibility and there's no buffer. So although there is less buffer now for me because I'm a registrar, not a resident, there is a second registrar who is more senior, so I feel slightly protected still, which is a really good ease into the role. In terms of like how I've gone, I mean, like, I think pros, like, I feel like I've managed it okay for the first couple weeks. I mean, on call is like probably the biggest thing that stresses me out or like takes up a lot of my time, because you're dealing with all these new referrals, you're having to present to the consultant, whereas last year I was taking calls that I would actually, you know, run past the registrar. So I've had practice at doing on call, but I've still had that layer of support. Every time you try to speak to the consultant, you want to have a really polished, refined question to ask so that you're not like just giving them pointless information. They are very busy people and they don't want to just be bothered for the sake of being bothered. So you want to go to them with a specific question in mind, a specific plan, a good framework. You don't want to just call them because yeah, it also like reflects poorly on you, I guess, in some sense. I mean, although you're just starting out, they expect you to ask a lot of questions, but each time you go to them, you want to have specific questions and a good framework and a good plan. You want to have like a good understanding of the patient that you're presenting to them. So, and also have all like the information about that patient ready so that if they need to, or if they need to ask something, you can just give it to them straight away. You don't want to sort of waste their time. And that's like kind of a different step. Whereas last year I was practicing as a resident holding the phone and presenting like I would to a consultant, but it was actually to the registrar who was on call, who was letting me practice. And all the calls I would run past them, give them plans, give them advice, but you still have that layer of support. It's different speaking to a registrar as a resident than it is speaking to a consultant as a registrar. And I think that's just, you know, part and parcel of the game. I don't know, it takes time to get comfortable and to really like step up and have that level of confidence when you present a case to someone. And yeah, just time. But I feel like now, like I actually have a bit more, like I feel like my feet are a bit more grounded. Like I know where to park. I know how long it takes me to get to work. I know where the bathrooms are. I know where I can sit down and do some uninterrupted study, or if I need to do some admin work, or if I just need to go to clinic or go to ED. If I have like a person that I've been referred in ED that I now need to find a room or space to see them, I can go and do that. I know more of the people at the hospital, they know me, and you sort of just getting a bit more of a feel for the way it all works, which is like really a confidence booster. They sound like the silly things that don't really matter. Things like, how do I get from one ward to another in the quickest amount of time? Or where's the bathroom on the ward? Or where can I put my bag when I go to work? Even like randomly, like where can I get like a quick biscuit if I'm in desperate need of a snack and I didn't bring my lunch and there's no food at the hospital. So those sort of like survival tips are like honestly the best things that make your life 10 times easier, because then you can actually just focus on the medicine. All the faffing around is like just taken out of the window. So yeah, that's the best part of knowing like a health system. I've started like using like the plunger again, because I kept on getting like coffee that was not able to be like run through the machine like a normal shot of coffee. And I was getting a little frustrated because like it was coming out like too like liquidy, too like watery, no crema. Or if it was too fine, then it couldn't actually go through, and it was just like building up lots of pressure in the machine, and it would take like, I don't know, 5 minutes for like the whole shot of coffee to be like run through. So now I've got like all of that. I've got another bag, and then randomly, I don't know, Dad was saying like when I was young, like he just used to keep his coffee in the freezer, which like, excuse me, gross. All that bubbles from soda water. I have no idea. If you keep your coffee in the freezer, let me know, because I always thought that it was pretty weird, but ever since I've done it, it's been fine. I don't always do this, but randomly I put a bag of coffee in the freezer, like ground coffee beans in the freezer, and they've kept well. So yeah, I've got to get through so much of this plunger coffee before I can go back and get back to the machine coffee, because that's my favorite. That's what I really want. All right, let's make some eggs. I've got these like cool little copper pans as well. Got them off my nana, which is amazing. So these are like old stuff, but honestly one of the coolest things that I've ever got. The handles also get hot as well, so you actually have to like use the tea towels to pick up the handle when it's like when it gets hot. So you feel like, you know, you're like an actual chef, which is kind of cool. Yeah, this is like one of the first mornings I've had like a nice relax in the past few days. I worked the weekend just gone, and that was kind of chaotic. So it's nice to have a weekend that is not at work, you know, because during the weekend, like, you have to round on all these patients that are actually not part of your actual team. So we have a few different teams that are like split up, and like the whole like general surgery unit is like broken up into like 3 or 4 different teams. So when you're on the weekend, during the week, you're usually only part of one team, but on the weekend you have to round on all 4 of those teams. Well, all 3. One of the teams is like a relieving team that just helps out here and there. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, weekends absolutely chaotic. Now, I like to have my eggs on these little rice cakes, and I sort of just put a bit of hummus on them. Usually I'd also put like a layer of avocado on there on top of the hummus, but I ran out of avo, so everything gets set up because these eggs won't take too long. And yeah, I don't know, Coles like recently, I don't know, they didn't have like home brand hummus for like ages. And normally, I mean, if I had to pick, I'm an Obala fan. I like the thicker hummus rather than Yumi's. Maybe that's controversial, but Obala at heart. if I had to pick one of the two main brand of hummus companies. But this hummus from Coles, honestly, rivals Obella big time. So nice as well just to have like a morning where you don't have to rush off at like 6:30. Like that's what time I usually leave home, 6:30 to get to work. I think another big thing is like assisting in like operations. I never really had to do that, or I never really got assigned to like operating lists as a resident. One of the big things that you notice as a registrar is that you will get assigned an operating list with a consultant that's part of your team. And at our hospital, we get assigned to emergency lists as well. So there's lots of time where, you know, people come into hospital, they need emergency operations, not the planned ones that go on the elective lists. And they essentially build up over the course of hospital. And if there are a lot of emergency cases, you need to prioritize like which ones to do first and everything. There is a separate theatre for like obs and gynae who have like emergency like C-sections or whatever. And then the other theatre is allocated to all the other emergency operations across the hospital. So if it's like orthopedics or another like general surgery or whatever, like we need to like organize the patients so that the most urgent people get done now, and then the rest get done when they have time. But yeah, that's one big thing that I've noticed this year, is that we're actually like assigned to operating lists to help out with the consultants, and also assigned to clinics as well. So we are specifically allocated clinics that we have to go to. It's not like, oh, if you get time, go to the clinic and help out and see a few patients. Like, no, there are like registrars who are like assigned clinics specifically, and they have like all these patients to see. And yeah, it's like my job to like go and see those patients and hear stories from like residents and, you know, make plans about all these patients. So it's not a question, do I go to clinic or not? It's when do I have clinic? When do I need to go there? So yeah, it's just like some slightly different responsibilities that you have to accommodate as a registrar, but largely it's not too dissimilar to the role of a resident. Oh no, I need to adjust that. Geez, I've never really talked and cooked at the same time, but it's very distracting. Is this gross? Is this gross if I do this?
Hashtag gross.
Oh well, I've done it now. Now, I don't know how people cook their eggs, but if I'm eating it on like crumpets, then I just like to flip it because otherwise the yolk gets everywhere. I still like the egg to be like a little bit runny, but I kind of like the yolk to be like contained. I don't want it to go like all over the plate. So maybe just like a little like 10-second flip is all you sort of need. And it just sort of contains the yolk. That's maybe a weird thing that I do. Alright, let's sit down and eat all these eggs. This looks delicious. One of the weird perks though of being a registrar is like you're going around as like a resident or an intern, and you get a list of all these jobs that you have to do. Like you might have to speak to cardiology, you might have to update the family, you might have to do a discharge summary or write a script or something like that. Those jobs you don't really do as a registrar because you've got a whole team of like 3 or 4 people at some days to help you do those jobs, which is amazing. Like I'd never thought how much like weight that takes off your shoulders. there is like so many more other jobs that you have to do, and they actually fill the time really well. So it's not like you have nothing to do, but if you're not assigned an operating list, you have a bit of downtime and you're not on call. Like if the ward is actually okay and there's not too many people there, the patient's actually not too sick and there's good plans in place, you actually don't have to do that much as a registrar. And a lot of the jobs, like the discharge summaries, the scripts, are actually done by the residents and the interns, which is super, super handy. Of course, there's like, as I said, there's other stuff that you have to do. You have to write the operation notes if you're in with a consultant and you're assigned to their list. You have to write the admission notes and everything if you see a patient and you accept them under your care or under the consultant's care. If you, I don't know, have the phone for the day and you're on call, you have to, you know, take all the referrals, hold the phone and deal with that stuff. If you are, let's say, on a ward round, you're the one leading the ward round. You're the one talking to the patients, coming up with plans and talking to the bosses to relay the plans to them, because the bosses don't really come on the ward rounds. Every now and then they will round with the patients and, you know, have a look at, you know, the actual patients, but largely it's the registrars and the rest of the team who go and see the patients on a daily basis, and then they update the consultants about how the patient is going, if there's new changes, if there's been any complications, or if they really have any questions about the progress of the patient and their hospital journey. Are they able to be discharged, or are they actually getting sick and worse? So it's kind of like you're still in the same role, but it's slightly different and you're slightly more externalized from the actual specific tasks that you do on a daily basis, like charting specific medications. Not that you can't chart, you do still chart some medications, but most of the jobs are done by the residents and the interns, which is kind of cool. And I think that's like more of like a fun thing to do in medicine. You want to eventually transition to a focus that's not on the admin side, that's not on the system side. You want to just make your focus on the patients and the medicine and developing more and more skills in that area of medicine that you choose, your specialty. So if you're a surgeon, you want to get really, really good at a specific type of operation or operations and give the patients the best operative care and pre-operative care and post-operative care. I mean, you want to have 100% of your focus on that, developing that skill, making sure the patients are looked after and making sure they get the best healthcare possible. And yeah, there's like, not everyone can only focus on that. That's why there is a spectrum of doctors, you know, from the doctors just starting out and the interns, the residents, the registrars who become more and more senior and starting to transition into that consultant role. And then you have the consultants, you know, who have been in the system a long, long time. Let's have a bite of these eggs. Been sitting here for a little bit now. Yeah, so, I mean, the yolk's like still there, it's contained. I mean, I've let it sit a little bit longer than I would usually do, but eggs, hummus and rice cakes, so good. I forgot to add chili flakes to this. I usually do add a bit of chili flakes, but this is one of the greatest breakfasts that I would love to have every day if I had time. Oh no. That's what happens when you leave the egg on the rice cake for a while. Loses its integrity, you know. Another funny thing that, you know, has actually become more of a responsibility, which is a nice flip. I mean, you, after the ward round, you know how I've, you know, spoken about coffee before. Like, coffee is a thing that like unites the team. Now, as a registrar, I'm buying the coffees for everyone, which is kind of cool. I feel like that's when you actually feel like you're going forward in your career, you're becoming more senior. When you start to buy the coffees for the rest of the team, you know, you're not just drinking the coffees, you're drinking your coffee and you're paying for all the other people's coffee. I don't know what the feeling is, but I guess it's like for so long you feel like you are just trying to do well, do the job so that other people are happy on the team. Whereas like now you have people who are helping you out doing the jobs, and now you want to thank them for helping you out and making you look good, and just, you know, doing bits and pieces that help you out in the end. And that's why you buy them coffee. And it's a good way to like unite the team and bring everyone together, which is good. I mean, the other week we just got like Uber Eats. The other registrar bought like Uber Eats for the entire team. And I was like, that is so nice. That's really, really good. And it's just like little things like that that like bring everyone together, and everyone like doesn't think, oh, it's just work and I have to do this or I have to do that task. You actually become like friends in a way, because you are doing the job all together and you're enjoying the medicine and you're having a good time, as well as learning heaps, doing hard work and looking after patients, which is a good thing. Like, it shouldn't be like a bad experience going to work all the time. You should actually enjoy the people you hang out with and learn from them and teach them as well. So that's a really good transition to have, and a really good dynamic. Like, I mean, I don't really like having like a tense work environment where people are just on edge, you know. It's just like not a collaborative and helpful way to, you know, operate, especially in the workplace and especially in healthcare, which I think if we can get rid of that as much as possible, then more people will be, you know, able to work together rather than like, you know, butting heads or, or like just getting caught up in all the politics and everything like that. So helping others, teaching others, learning from others as well is super, super important to making sure that it's like, you know, the best workplace for all the health professionals and all the allied health staff and everyone, and the patients too. Yeah, I don't really get to do this much, like having like a day off where I get to simply just focus on a few things that have been like building up around the house, just like doing stuff as simple as it is, like washing, you know, taking out the recycling bin that's building up, like, you know, tidying up the house, doing a bit of vacuuming, you know, cleaning like the shower or something, even just like replacing like the soda stream. Like, I can't remember the last time I replaced that soda stream. It probably should have been replaced like weeks ago, but when you're like in the cycle, in that grind, you just let all these like little things build up and you don't actually have time to do those things. And it's kind of nice to just sit back and not have that rush of needing to go off somewhere and do that job. You can actually like relax, make some brekkie, make a coffee, sit down and exercise as well, and go for a walk. Like this morning, the first thing I got up, I was like, this is not my first coffee for the day, but I got up and I just walked down the street, had a coffee, walked around. It was really nice just to have that time and space to, you know, no phones, no like tech, no like listening to stuff, just have a walk and get some fresh air. When you're going back and forth and you're leaving home when it's dark and coming home when it's dark, then it's kind of like you need to break that cycle just to like have a break and stuff, which is good. You need that. One of the things that I also wanted to touch on was like, I think someone messaged me like they were a resident or they were an intern and they were looking to get into like this unaccredited registrar role sort of thing. And they were like, oh, what's the best way to do it? Or how do you increase your chances of like getting that role? And I mean, I don't know if I just lucked it or whatnot, or if I was just in contact with the right people at the right time. And I think that had a bit of, you know, stuff to do with it. But I think by and large, you need to impress the people that you're working with on the ground level. So if you're a resident or an intern, you know, you need to impress the registrars first and foremost, and then they will relay to the consultants how you're going, how you're progressing, let them know if you're interested in like pursuing a career in that specialty. So if you're like a cardiology resident, you want to like impress the hell out of the cardiology registrars and make their life as easy as possible. I think that is the main thing that like impresses people. If you can make the other person's job easier, take the weight off their shoulders, they will look at you and say thank you, because you're just doing them a favor out of like, you know, your time and your energy, like just out of like the kindness of your heart, essentially. Although there is like a slight ulterior motive there, like you have to genuinely want to help them as well. And that's the best thing that you can do to try to put yourself in the best position. So essentially last year, my goal was to help out the registrars as much as possible so that I could learn heaps, level up heaps, and get as good as I can, because I wanted to get the most out of that term that I could, you know. Every job that I could do as a resident, I wanted to master, and then every job that I could learn how to do in a residence role that was acting as a registrar, I wanted to do it. I wanted to operate, I wanted to, you know, prep the lists for the consultants, I wanted to hold the phone and take referrals, I wanted to help out in clinic and, you know, see patients, present them to consultants, run the plans past them. I wanted to help out and assist in major operations. I mean, all these things, you know, get involved in research and all that stuff, all these things that help make the consultant's life easier or the registrar's life easier, you want to do. You know, if there's something that they need help with, they need to chase this, or they are busy in an operation and they're on call as well, then you hold the phone for them and you say, that's okay, I'm happy to do it. I'm actually not too busy. Let me take the phone and I'll let you know if there's anything serious that comes in. Or if there's anything that serious comes in and you're still in that operation, I'll speak to one of the other registrars. And you want to do that as much as possible, because then they see you and they're like, oh, you actually have the ability to do that role as a resident and also want to level up as a registrar. Well, in the you know, the position of a registrar, and you're able to, you know, actually navigate, you're able to actually like navigate between those two roles, juggle them, and, you know, not be too stressed out, have the appropriate level of escalation, and not be afraid to like go into theatre and like interrupt them if it's like a serious thing that you need to sort out. And that's fine. I mean, I interrupted people in theatre plenty of times, and they will say, oh yeah, that's actually good, you should call this person, or nah, don't worry about it, we'll sort it out later. And as long as they're aware and you can synthesize that information, they can just see that you're like ticking over and you're thinking about a whole bunch of things. Not only are you assessing the patient in front of you, but you're thinking, what's the next step and the step after that? Do they need an operation? Well, when can we do that operation? It doesn't need to be done tonight because it's like the last part of the day, or can it wait till tomorrow? Does this decision about the operation taking place now or tomorrow need to be made right now, or can it wait for half an hour after that registrar has finished operating on that case? Can I speak to someone else? I mean, there's all these like thinking points that you're going through, and showing to someone more senior that you can like think about those things, and you're, you know, essentially weighing them up to make a decision in the end, is all you need to do to show them that you're like more than capable of doing a more senior role. Because that's the thing, like as a registrar, you're not, yeah, sure, you need to make decisions and you need to like have some sense of leadership, but you by and large need to be cautious, be wary, not skip steps, not cut corners, and escalate when appropriate. Because the main person who makes all the decisions is the consultant. And if a resident or an intern brings you a problem, you need to actually assess that through by yourself and make a decision. Do I need to go and see this patient myself? Do I need to escalate to the consultant? Is this actually a benign problem, or do I actually need to dig deeper? into this? Is this actually a sick patient who's about to get really bad? If you're in that position of like a resident or an intern now, and you want to get a registrar position for the next year, that's what I would be focusing on. Master your role as a resident or an intern and try to take on as much responsibility as you can from the registrars. Help them out with things, see what they do and try to do that for them. Say, hey, I know you're on call on Wednesday this week. Can I try take the phone for an hour or two, or even the morning, and then I'll present the stories to you, or I'll present the referrals to you. And if there's anything serious, then I'll escalate to you immediately, you know? Things like that is just like super helpful and super good practice, because you're actually doing the role. When you call the switchboard and say, I'm the person taking the calls, switch the phone to me, that's really like, the onus is on you. You're getting the actual real-time calls. So yeah, I think that's a really good way to level up and to show people that you're actually ready for a position like that. And then like once it comes to like deciding who is like able to get the registrar role, then you know who's giving you the references. It's the registrars, but it's also the consultants. And if you haven't had that much interaction with the consultants, then you ask them, hey, can you be my reference? They will actually defer to the registrars and ask for their opinion, because obviously the registrars have much more to do with you on a day-to-day basis. They see you operating on the ground level. And if they think you're ready for the role, they'll tell the consultants like, hey, this guy, 100%, this would be a great time for him to do this position. And if you're not, then they might liaise, or they might not give you as strong as a reference. So yeah, a lot of factors at play. Sometimes it's just like other people, you know, are just applying for the role and they're more senior, or they're looking for a particular type of person. But in your power, if you can just take as much responsibility, or if you can take as much weight off the registrar's shoulder, impress them, do their job and help them out, you're in with a real shot. All right, brekkie is done. Coffee is finished. I'm gonna finish off this little soda water. Get cracking on the rest of my day. I'm gonna get cracking with the rest of my day. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm excited to find out. Hopefully that helped. I'll see you next time. Bye. Don't do that ever again. That sucked. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Let me know. All right. Catch ya.